They've been going down because, essentially, the economy shifted radically throughout the world, starting in 1979 when Margaret Thatcher was elected Prime Minister of England and Ronald Reagan was elected President here. Claiming to defend capital, the Reagan Bush Administration, in its 12 years, quadrupled American debt by slashing taxes on the upper brackets while sharply increasing taxes on labor. They increased it largely by having Alan Greenspan create the Greenspan Commission to look at Social Security, pushing the myth that Social Security had to be funded out of pre-saving. American labor was essentially taxed 11% between itself and the employers to pay Social Security, and this vast increase in Social Security taxes was used to lend to the government to provide it with enough money to slash taxes on the rich. And that was Greenspan's ploy, and he was rewarded by being made head of the Federal Reserve for his actual hatred of labor and his desire that you had to reduce living standards in order to increase the profits of capital. When I was on Wall Street, Greenspan was hired as part of a study I was doing on the balance of payments of the oil industry. And one day my boss, John Deaver, came into my office and said he really worried about Greenspan being a part of this report because he was known as a hack that always gave his clients what they wanted instead of something actual. And so he gave me Greenspan's figures on depreciation of oil-producing refinery assets in Europe and asked me to find out where the faking is. He couldn't believe that Greenspan by himself wouldn't have just faked the figures. And it took me about a week to figure out where the faking of the figures came out. And that was Greenspan had simply picked up depreciation rates relative to output for the United States and projected them onto Europe. So I went over and talked to his assistant, Lucille Wu, and she said, "It's all implicit, all implicit." And I confronted her with it, and she said, "Yes, that's what we did." So Greenspan was indeed talked off the study. We met John Deaver and David Rockefeller and myself, and I was told that Greenspan was such a little bastard that if they fired him, he'd hold a grudge against Chase Manhattan for years, and they told me to be the guy to give him the news that we couldn't use his statistics on it. And I was a 25-year-old economist at the time, and he hardly knew me at all, so I was the guy who subsequently became known as the man who fired Alan Greenspan.
Those of us who have looked to the self-interest of lending institutions to protect shareholders' equity, myself especially, are in a state of shocked disbelief.
This is not an issue of credit rating. The United States can pay any debt it has because we can always print money.
Used Chile as a laboratory for the neoliberal ideas at gunpoint that then were applauded by Margaret Thatcher in England and by Ronald Reagan in the United States. Was that too violent? Are they going to shoot me?
No.